Well, a very, very happy Friday morning to everyone, and welcome to the John Kentera Show on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Glad you could join me. And I have to apologize for Wednesday. I just was a little under the weather. I don't really know what was wrong with me. I was just kind of tired. I had a long week last week and just a little run down, and just I prepared for the show. I just couldn't deliver. So I apologize for that. Right in the heat of the pennant race, but hey, the Padres, they're in. Looks like they're going to Chicago, and we're going to get into the Cubs a little bit later on in the program. We got a packed show today, by the way. Absolutely packed show. We got Brad Cesmat coming up here in a minute. We got John Maffei coming up at the bottom of the hour to talk high school football. We got Jonathan Olivieri with a preview of the San Diego State Northern Illinois game. So a lot to get done on this Friday. Coming up right around 9:20, somewhere in that neighborhood. We're going to get out to Coach's Crew. We'll get your questions. So if you're out and about right now, make sure you're typing those questions in, and we'll answer each and every one of them. And again, want to thank everyone for being a part of the program. As usual, I'd like you to please subscribe, please like, please turn on your notifications. And if you would like to help support the channel, we started our Gold Glove membership a couple of weeks ago, and that's going very, very well. For only $2.99 a month, you help the channel pay what bills we do have, and would very much appreciate being a part of our Gold Glove membership. Again, you can just go to our YouTube page, hit join, and that's about all you need to do. We're going to get into the Padres, but we're going to talk a little bit about the Arizona Diamondbacks, and then we're going to get into your questions, high school football, Aztecs, big road game against a MAC opponent, Northern Illinois. A very winnable game, quite frankly, for San Diego State, but hey, you never know. They had that miraculous win last week, shutting out the California Golden Bears at Snapdragon Stadium 34-0. Can they go on the road for their final non-conference game, take down Northern Illinois, and then come home a week from tonight? Yeah, next Friday night, they will open up Mountain West Conference play. Final year in the Mountain West Conference against Colorado State. So a lot to get done. Want you to be a part of the program. And right now we're going to head out to our hotline. My good friend, the founder and CEO of Sports 360 AZ, a man of radio and TV over in Arizona for over 30 years now. Brad Cesmat joins me on the John Kentera Show. And good morning, Mr. Cesmat. And I hope your week has gone well with all the sporting events going on in Arizona this week. I know you can't attend them all, but I'm sure you're getting out to a few of them. But what a week in Arizona in the sports world.
Yeah, this is let's see. Well, first of all, I'm glad you're better. Like, it had to be for all the viewers. Here's the thing. If John's not able to make it on a show, it's bad. That's it. He can sugarcoat it all he wants, because I know this. He'll strap it on. Our years working together, he's not one of these guys like, yeah, I'm too well to attend today. So glad you're doing better. Yeah, let's see. This week, so we had the Super Cardinals, I call them, because they're not. They lose at the buzzer Sunday in San Francisco. Then they come home, and Wednesday was Suns Media Day. Suns are not going to be good this year. In fact, their owner, Matt Ishbia, said, we're not going to judge success this year by how many games we win or lose. Oh, really? So what are the fans supposed to judge success by? Exactly. But we want you to buy tickets to watch this, because we know outside of Devin Booker and Jalen Green, we're not going to be very good. And then we had the Dodgers in town for 3 games. And then we had the Super Cardinals again last night lose the buzzer, this time to Seattle. And then we had the Diamondbacks go to San Diego for tonight. Tonight, I'm going to be at Arizona State against TCU. And tomorrow, U of A plays Iowa State. And, of course, the Fiesta Bowl's out scouting teams, and there's high school. Other than that, there's nothing going on in Phoenix. John, this is why I moved here. I miss being at home. Sure, I'd love to be at Bates Nut Farm in Valley Center and go pick pumpkins where I grew up. That would be great. That would be awesome. That would be amazing. To go over to the beach and hang out with you, to go to Carlsbad, have fish and chips, to go do anything that I did as a kid. But it just there's so much going on over here, so that's why I'm here. And
all right,
Diamondbacks, and there's the mighty Diamondbacks.
I want to talk about the Dodger Diamondback series. I mean, unbelievable series until yesterday when the Dodgers came out and just jumped on them, and it was 8-0 after 3 innings, and they easily won the game, and they wrapped up yet another division title, 12 out of the last 13, and the only one they didn't lose. They won 106 games, and the Giants had this miraculous year a few years back and won 107. But the game Tuesday night and Wednesday, you couldn't watch more thrilling regular season, final week of the season, regular season games. The Diamondbacks came back Tuesday night. They were down. They came back and won walk-off fashion in 11. They almost came back on Wednesday night. They ended up getting beat 5-4. Great crowds, 42,000 and some change on Tuesday, over 43 on Wednesday. I mean, that was some intense baseball. I watched all 3 games of the series.
Yeah, for the people that say the sport is dying, no, you don't get it. I think, John, because to fast forward a little bit, to think that the Diamondbacks are going to have everything break their way, it would mean the Mets continue to play with both hands around their neck rather than on a bat. It would mean the Reds would have to lose, and the Diamondbacks would have to basically, yeah, they're 2 out, but could they sweep? Could they win 2 and the other teams? For them to tie, they have the tiebreaker over the Reds and they have the tiebreaker over the Mets if they were to finish in a 3-way tie. Zach Gallen didn't pitch yesterday. Remember the movie Trading Places with Eddie Murphy?
Right.
Yeah, they had Mr. Beeks. They had Mr. Beeks, the undercover officer who ended up being in a gorilla suit at the end. Yeah, Mr. Beeks pitched yesterday for the Diamondbacks, Jalen Beeks, because Zach Gallen was not well. And I hear he's really not doing great, and he's supposed to pitch tonight. And Zach's been great. And look, the games, if this goes down as it looks like it's going to, or they're going to come up short again by a little bit, go back to Wednesday night, bases loaded, 10th inning, 1 out, couldn't get it done. That's really where the season is. John, you and I have talked throughout the season, and every time I've come on with you, I've said, I think this is going to come down to the last week. I didn't think it would come down to the last week with this team, because you go back to, and everybody has injuries, but you start with Corbin Burns and then you work your way down. And then you have a bullpen that has come out most nights up until mid-September with the gas cannon matches rather than a bat and a ball. You know, they've been dreadful this year. And everybody, it feels like, is struggling with bullpen. The Dodgers bullpen over here wasn't good. They had to bring Kershaw in the other night, which I thought was really interesting. And so here they are in a spot where you look at it and you say, wow, I thought Torrey might be on the hot seat at the end of this season. I wonder if Ken Kendrick's going to get upset that they can't seem to figure it out in the front office as to how to put a bullpen together. And yet here we are in the last week of the season, down to the last 3 games, and mathematically they're still alive. And how do you not give credit to Torrey Lovello to keep this thing together? You lose Lourdes Gurriel a couple of weeks back with a torn ACL. You go through all these guys in the bullpen, like they look like a law firm just starting out in Yuma, okay? The last names of them, it's who are these guys? Where did they come from? There's nobody really established. And when they've been able to get some people in place that look like they were going to get the job done, injuries have hurt them. So they've done a tremendous job. The team truly has rallied. Geraldo Perdomo, I spoke about him last time we were together. He's the glue on this team. He's the clubhouse guy. John, he's probably one of the most underrated players in all of baseball because he plays in Arizona. He doesn't get put on national TV every week like a Yankees, Red Sox, Cubs, etc., Dodgers. And he just sits out here and does his thing. And this team has grit. That's what I love about them. We don't see that much in sports. You know, grit is missing in sports. Guys get down on teams that aren't good and they end up losing huge amounts of games because they just give up. Like, I get my paycheck. We're not going to be in the race. You know, look at what's happened with the Guardians this year. You know, look at what happened with the Reds. Tito comes in and the Reds are sitting right there this year. That's grit.
You know, Arizona, and I watch them a lot, you know, especially if the Padres were on the road, they're at home, and they start at 6:40, and I'll watch their games. Perdomo, even a few years back when he was a young player and barely hitting 200 that rookie year, there was something about that guy I really liked, and I thought he was going to develop. And now I think he's one of the better players in the National League, quite frankly. Yeah. He's got a chance. I think he's got 98 RBIs right now. He got a chance to drive in 100 runs. He's a young player. And he's a guy that down the road, they're going to have to lock up, or somebody's going to give him a big paycheck. But everybody talks about him being a great leader, and even though he's so young, and I know Corbin Burns is a star, but it sounds like Perdomo is really kind of the captain of that ball club, and he's a fun guy to watch on both sides of the ball, quite frankly.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that, and Corbin Carroll's the other one. You have some young players here, and they've locked Corbin up. He's got 8 years still on his deal, and it's already, because of the way the salaries have gone, it's already one that he's outgrown, in my opinion. Corbin Carroll's a 30-30 guy this year. That doesn't happen in Arizona. That hasn't happened in Arizona. And he's one of those guys, along with Perdomo, that when they're coming up to bat in the next inning, it's like when Tony was playing with the Padres. When Tony Gwynn was going to lead off the next inning, there's not a chance I was going to go to the bathroom. I'd sit there and my bladder would explode. That'd be the way it would go. I'd have to put on Depends or something. But it's where you see those star players that roll through that make you lean in a little bit closer. Anybody who's like, oh, I hate Ohtani. Okay, you're the one. What do you mean? You're going to sit and watch him? And I'm not saying Corbin Carroll's Ohtani. Nobody's Ohtani. Like, John, the other night when Ohtani went out there on Tuesday night and did what he did for 6 innings and took one off his body, a really hard line drive off his body. We just don't see those players. And here in Arizona, we're blessed to see guys. Like, it takes me back to 2001 of the World Series team when Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling were pitching back to back. Like, how do you not get excited to see that? How do you not lean in as a fan of baseball? And that's what I feel like for everybody that wants to rip Rob Manfred, and they should, for a lot of things that has been said. The time of games this year, I saw this morning, there's now 3 games this year that have gone over 3 hours. 3. I didn't know that. It was over 200 games 5 years ago.
That's not counting extra innings, though.
Right. Correct. But is it good of baseball to, I understand that keeping fans' attention, but when you have these star players on the field like the Perdomos and the Corbin Carrolls and the Ohtanis, and I'm leaving out dozens and dozens, and fans are screaming at me, what about Cal? Yeah, when the Mariners were here, this place was jumping because they were all about Cal. It's great to have fresh new faces. The MVP debate between Cal and Judge is a good one to have. And I think over here, Perdomo is one of those I could say to people in New York who wouldn't have a clue about Geraldo Perdomo, because anything outside of Pittsburgh is about as far west as they look. Okay. so when they talk about Arizona, it's cactus. That's what they show. Here's a cactus. We're in Arizona. Got it. The job that Perdomo has done to keep this team afloat off the field in that clubhouse has been very tight knit. That clubhouse had a problem with Ketel Marte. If you remember, at the end of July, it got out that Marte took an extra couple of days off after the All-Star break. His house got robbed. Players let it out of the clubhouse. Media jumped all over him. He had to apologize. And Perdomo had his back. Perdomo actually shed some tears. If you remember when Marte was in Chicago earlier this year with the White Sox and some fan was heckling him about his dead mom, it was Perdomo that put his arm around him. Perdomo does a lot that doesn't show up in a box score. People want to see box scores and judge the success of a player. You know this, John, as well as anybody. There's a lot of intangibles in the person. Are they a good teammate?
That's a big part of it. I always, with my grandson, the first thing I always ask after he played, do you have fun today?
Yep.
And one of the things that I've stressed to him, even though he's only 7 years old, you got to be a good teammate. You got to help the ball club out in any way you can, help out your teammate. I go, whoever may be the weakest player on your team in some way, shape, or form, do something to help him be a better player, whether it's playing catch with him and maybe giving him a tip on this or that, because he's a pretty advanced 7-year-old. Be a good teammate, because really at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, yeah, you win championships or you lose a tight ball game. What you remember, and you know this from being a basketball player, you remember the relationships and what kind of guy that guy was during the good and bad times, and what kind of guy he was in the locker room. And you got to be a good teammate. That's a prerequisite for me.
Yeah. No, what I remember about my high school days was Junior Seau throwing me into the bleachers at Oceanside High on a breakaway dunk. And that's
Well,
what
he was trying to make an early statement.
he was a freshman. I was a senior, and that was the end of basketball for Brad Cesmat. Your guest a little bit later, John Maffei, will know about that one. What I'm interested in these next 3 games, you tell me on this one. The Padres are in position to set everything up for postseason. Is there really an urgency? Is there, no, you want to finish the season strong because you don't want to be playing bad baseball? Or is it some guys are going to get rested up? Are the Diamondbacks desperate? Yes, they are. Are they going to be scoreboard watching? Yes, they are. The Padres just sit here the next 3 games and be like, we're going to get ready for postseason. We know where we're going. We're going to set everybody up.
Well, I would imagine tonight, Yu Darvish is pitching tonight, supposedly against Zach Gallen. Tomorrow it's going to be the left-hander Eduardo Rodriguez going against Michael King. I would imagine Darvish and King will probably go 5, no more than 6 innings, but probably 5. And then Sunday it'll be Johnny Holstaff. They'll get all the bullpen guys that they want to get some work, and maybe the guys that aren't the high leverage guys may throw multiple innings. But, really for the Diamondbacks, they got to win all 3. Okay. If they drop tonight's game, then, both teams may turn into a spring training series the last 2 games.
Yeah. Well, and I would think on your end, Michael King in the postseason over Darvish. Would you have King over Darvish in your rotation in the playoffs?
Yeah, my rotation would be Pivetta. He's earned that. He's had an incredible year, one of the best pitchers, not in just in the National League, but in all of baseball this year, having a career year. Never finished a year with under an ERA of 4, and he's under 2 this year in the 2.8s. If King throws well tomorrow night, probably going to go with him next Wednesday in Chicago. And quite frankly, I think I'd go with Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease overall not had a great year, but he's got a lot of swing and miss. I think Darvish, and Bob Scanlon brought this up the other day on television. I couldn't agree more. Darvish is more of a finesse guy now because he's throwing 93, maybe 94, but he spins it a lot. The Cubs are pretty good about laying off of pitchers out of the zone, and I think in the postseason, you got to have a power pitcher. And if Cease is on, he's one of the best pitchers. He's not had a great year. He has had a good month of September. Last 4 starts actually have been very good. So if it comes down to a game 3, I got to go with Dylan Cease. And of course, in a game 3, everybody's in play. Darvish and the entire bullpen.
Yeah. I think for the Diamondbacks, this could be Zach Gallen's final start in an Arizona Diamondback uniform. We don't know. He's a free agent. And I think the free agent thing played with him early this season because he was asked about it in every stop. And his best friend, Merrill Kelly, best golf buddy, best friend off the field, really tight teammate in the deadline period. Every day, Zach was just getting hounded. And then Merrill gets traded over to the Rangers. There's the belief that Merrill will just come back here this season, next season. I'm not one of those that thinks it's automatic because you don't know where the decimal point's going to land by somebody else. So let's just not assume that because he's building a house here and they have a young family that they're going to come back. But I think in Zach's case, John, he's pitched really well since the deadline, kind of like the cobwebs were cleared of in my head was way too much. And he's pitched like the guy that was a Cy Young guy the last few years. He really has. But he won't, the way that it's gone with Zach, if he gets through 6, if he gets to 95 to 100, he's not going to go past that, even the situation they're in. That's just what's been going on with him this season, which I don't agree with 100%. But be that as it may, he's playing better. And they've patchworked things together with players. You look at, there's a guy named Blaze Alexander that you're going to see tonight. And I love Blaze Alexander. Blaze Alexander is one of those guys. He's like Bavacqua back in the day, except he had a position, right? I don't want to use the Lasorda line about effing Bavacqua. He couldn't hit water if he thought of a bleeping boat. But there's those players that you have to have on a team that you could just go play anywhere. You know what I mean? He's played left field after Gurriel got hurt. He's come up with some big hits. He's been over at third base after they traded Suarez up to the Mariners. And I like how he is. He has grit. This is a dirty ball club in the way that the training staff's got to wash uniforms after every game. They dive, they hustle, they play the game, in my opinion, the right way. And so that's why they're here. And they kind of have this attitude of like, well, nobody's expecting anything from us. We're just a bunch of young, dopey kids. Blaze Alexander was at Reno for most of this year. Now he's up here and he's right in the middle of a race, and they're just having fun. If you watch their games, most every walk-off, it's and a lot of guys do this, but it's the bubble gum and it's the water being sprayed and ice being thrown at the guys while they're trying to be interviewed. They screw around, and that goes back to Perdomo.
Well, it'll be a fun series. The Padres are going to try to win every game, but they also need to figure some things out. They lost Ramon Laureano with a broken index finger the other day. He's going to miss at least the wild card series. And if they do advance, that's probably in question if he would be ready for the next series. We'll have to wait and see. But I think as long as the Diamondbacks are, if they can win game one, it's going to be an interesting weekend. You are going to be scoreboard watching the Mets, watching Cincinnati, and this is what why they put the extra wild card in. There are a lot of teams still in play this weekend. That situation with Detroit and Cleveland's very interesting.
Yep. No, that you see a team like Detroit and say in August they're going to run away with this.
They were running away with it.
Yeah, they were. And well, it's like the Padres and Dodgers. Like the other night, just seeing how Dave's trying to figure out his bullpen, and it's a week to go in the season, and it's 3 days. He hasn't figured his bullpen out. And so if the Padres and Dodgers meet, because I'm of the opinion the putt is too hard for the Diamondbacks. They could go sweep, and they would still need the Mets and Reds to lose 2 of 3. Okay. And if the Padres and Dodgers were to meet, because the bullpen, and you tell me about your bullpen, but I don't feel like I see a bullpen that I can trust to save my life with any of these teams. And they put a ton of money in the Dodgers bullpen with Scott. He wasn't good the other night.
No, Kirby Yates is on the IL right now. Now they're bringing up Roki Sasaki, who 3 months ago said wouldn't pitch again this year with a shoulder impingement. His ERA in AAA was over 8, but he looked pretty good in the 1 inning he pitched the other night. I'll tell you one thing about the Dodgers, though. They can start Ohtani, then they can go with Blake Snell, then they can go with Yamamoto. Those guys can go deep into games, and every out they can get past the 5th inning, or especially 6th inning, the Dodgers, I think they can probably find 9 outs, and they'll throw Emmett Sheehan, who's starting tonight. They'll throw him into the bullpen. He's pitched well, and they got some other guys. Vesey has been pretty good. I know he had kind of a rough couple of days over there in Arizona. But at the end of the day, they've got guys that have been there, done that. They're used to the pressure cooker. And I think winning the division yesterday, Brad, I watched a lot of their interviews after the game. You could see a sigh of relief. And I think when the Dodgers went to spring training, they assumed that they'd walk through the division and their season really would begin on October 1st. And I think they almost feel like the pressure's off now.
Well, wait a minute. You're Coach Kentera. You are San Diego. It says right here, Coach Kentera, San Diego, the Coach John Kentera Show, San Diego Sports. That's what it says. You have this little tone in you that the Padres can't take down the Dodgers.
Well, they got to get through a couple of rounds before that'd even be a matchup. There's a team called the Philadelphia Phillies that are pretty good too,
Yeah. Can you believe Kyle Schwarber?
Hey, Schwarber, he's going to get a nice paycheck. But, hey, as I end this, and we're going to get out to our coaches crew and hear from what the fans had to think about our big interview here. The Padres, they can catch lightning in a bottle. This has been, in a lot of ways, for me, a very frustrating season with this ball club. But you know what? I think Dodgers had a frustrating season. Diamondbacks have had a frustrating season. The Mets, it's been a tough year for a lot of teams that are going into the postseason. And now you don't know, with, a day in between to get your faculties together. The Padres, if they can get some starting pitching, they got the bullpen to be dominant. They got to get Machado swinging the bat. He's been awful. Not bad. He's been awful the last 2 months. Okay. Tatis has been sick this week. Hopefully he can play 2 out of the 3 games, kind of get his stroke back. They lose Laureano. They've got some positives. They can play small ball. And I got to tell you, and I know Arizona plays small ball, But the Padres are the best small ball team in baseball. And come playoff time, you got to be able to move runners. They've got the ability to do that. They can beat the Cubs. The Cubs aren't going to be easy. The Cubs got power. They score a lot of runs. They got 3 really nice starting pitchers, but their bullpen's not great. Padres can win this first round series, and then we'll figure out who they're playing in the second round. But they can beat the Cubs. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah, that's not good enough. Come on, John. It's the Padres. How big is their payroll? We don't come here to make the postseason and just win a round. I'm hearing a tone in your voice. And I know you got to kick me out to get to coaches. I'm hearing a tone in your voice. Now, I could tell the viewers of the John Kentera show to ask John about the Gus Macker tournament, but that's saved for another day. There's a great Gus Macker story with John. And I'll tell
Well, I can end that story very quickly. I'm right behind my John Kentera show. I've got our Gus Macker trophy right there, buddy.
Mine is right there, too.
I see it.
Yeah.
I see it.
It's a pride and joy thing when I tell people this is the trophy that made my career. No, it's actually the trophy that got me out of basketball.
So, well, I got news for anybody that played us that day. They got to go to an early lunch.
Yeah, they got to go to the ER room is what I'm saying. So.
All right. You got to muscle inside every once in a while.
These things are sharp, you know.
Yeah. Hey. Have a great weekend. Enjoy everything that Arizona brings to your table.
Yeah, we got Cactus. See ya. Get out of here. You're doing great.
Right,
Love you.
Take care. There you go. Brad Cesmat, founder and CEO of Sports 360 AZ. We had way too much fun together. Last game we called together was back in like 1991. It was his last game, and I was doing Aztec basketball with him. I was doing just the home games. And he goes, hey, it's my last game. Will you go to LA with me and do the USC San Diego State basketball game? So I drove up there with him, and that was the last time we actually worked together. But a great guy. He's had an incredible broadcasting career. I mean, he's a true legend over there in the state of Arizona. Does a lot of great charity work, got a great relationship with Charles Barkley. They've given away turkeys for 100 years over there. So thanks again to Brad Cesmat joining us. Coming up here in just a few minutes, we're going to have John Maffei on, but I want to get out to our coaches crew. I know we got a lot of people out there that have questions. And by the way, Monday, we'll do a kind of a deep dive on the Chicago Cubs. I am going to mention the Cubs a little bit today at the end of the program, but we'll do a little deep dive on them on Monday and get you ready for the playoff game on Tuesday. It'll be in Chicago. We'll find out right after the game on Sunday exactly what time the Padres are going to play. I would assume it's probably going to be an afternoon game, maybe even a late afternoon game in Chicago. We'll have to wait and see. Okay, let's get out to a few questions, and we'll get to as many. I want to get to John Maffei. We've got a big night in high school football, but coaches crew, send those questions in right now. Let's go. What do we got today? I would imagine me not doing a show on Wednesday. There are a lot of people out there that like to get to me today. Do we have any questions? Oh, looks like the questions are coming in a little bit slow today, which is okay. Richard, I feel the ink thing stopping the Dodgers out themselves. Starting pitching is elite. Offense is solid. And Kershaw with Roki in the bullpen is a game changer. Nobody in the NL puts the fear in me. I'm going to tell you right now, I think really the Dodgers' secret weapon for me, because he can go multiple innings, is not Kershaw, not Roki. It's Emmett Sheehan. Sheehan's pitching tonight up in Seattle, and I don't know how deep they're going to let him go into the game, but for me, what I've seen of that young guy, I think he's going to play a big part in what the Dodgers are able to get done or not be able to get done in the postseason. That's the way I look at it, Richard. And again, the Dodgers going to finish out the regular season with 3 games up there in Seattle. I told you that Seattle ball club was good. I've been talking about Seattle quite a bit, and not just because of Cal Raleigh. I've been talking about they've got great starting pitching, they got a dynamite bullpen, and they got dudes that can hit the ball out of the ballpark, and that plays very, very well come postseason play. Richard, thank you very much. Let's get to a couple of more, and then I will get to John Maffei because he's got a big night ahead of him. He got a great game he's going to. We'll get to that here in just a couple of minutes. Big Sam Sanford, hey, Coach, as I said to you the other night, I really think Laureano injury was a tough break for the squad. Almost feels like it was the final nail in the coffin. Hope you're feeling better. I'm feeling a lot better, quite frankly. Thank you. I just got a little fatigued and run down. I was going pretty hard last week. Still trying to get to cover a lot of events in San Diego and just kind of ran myself into the ground, I think. Um, Laureano's injury hurts for a variety of reasons. Not only is he swung the bat well, and I know he wasn't having a great month of September, but he has done a great job since coming over from Baltimore. He's also brought, I think, a tough and a grit to this ball club. He plays hard each and every day. He's a good, solid outfielder. He filled in there a little bit when Jackson Merrill's been out in center field. That was his original position. But he's played a very nice left field, and that's a devastating injury. But luckily, you've got Gavin Sheets, and Gavin Sheets, left-hand hitter. Cubs are going to probably throw two left-handers in the series. I don't know exactly how they're going to go right now. We'll talk about that maybe a little bit later, but they got Imanaga, who got beat up last night pretty good by the Mets. He'll play in the series. And Matthew Boyd, the left-hander, who's very good. But Sheets has done a good job hitting against left-handers this year. So I think it hurts not having Laureano. I don't know who they're going to bring up. They have really nothing, quite frankly, in the minor league system to bring up. You could bring up Luis Camposano, who didn't get a hit this year in the big leagues. He was like 0 for 20 or 0 for 21, but he led the Pacific Coast League in average because he'd be a right-hand hitter. Or you can bring Will Wagner back up, who they just optioned out. Left-hand hitter, can play a couple of the different infield positions, but I think Sheets is probably going to be your guy day in and day out. You got Bryce Johnson, who's done a nice job, but really he's more of a role player, not a guy you're going to start, I don't think, in a postseason game. That's the way I look at it. Let's get to one more question, then we're going to get to John Maffei. See what else we got out there. Casey King, good morning, Coach. And my Dodgers got the NL West and the number 3 seed. You think my Dodgers will leave Tanner Scott and Blake Trinan off the playoff roster and have Sasaki on the playoff roster in the bullpen? Well, they put Kirby Yates on the IL, so he's done for the first round at least. I think Trinan, they're going to go with him just because he's a veteran. He did get that crucial out the other night. With the bases loaded, they brought him in. He got a pop-up, but he has not been good. I think this is the final go-round for Blake Trinan. His stuff is just not playing. Now, he may get hot in the playoffs, but I think this may be the final chapter of his major league career. Tanner Scott will be on. You don't give a guy 4 years, $72 million, and put him on the bench. I think they're going to work with him, and they build him up. They gave him an inning yesterday. He did pretty well. So, we'll see. But again, I think Emmett Sheehan, they're not going to let him go real deep tonight. They want him available for Tuesday out of that Dodger bullpen, I would imagine. And again, another guy we didn't even talk about, Tyler Glasnow. I would think he's probably not even starting one of the first 3 games, if it goes 3 games. And again, they don't know who they're playing yet. Okay. Without any further ado, John Maffei from the San Diego Union Tribune, another big night of high school football. And Mr. Maffei, how are we doing today?
John, I'm doing very well.
Well, you're a baseball guy. I got to ask you a baseball question right off the bat. And I don't know, and I know you can't talk about who you vote for, and I don't know what award you're voting for this year, but, there's this great debate about Aaron Judge or Cal Raleigh. And there's no doubt Aaron Judge has had another incredible year. But Cal Raleigh has had a historic year. And I got to believe with what he does behind the plate, he's been a Gold Glove, I think platinum glove catcher. His team won their first division title in 24 years. He broke Mickey Mantle's switch hitting record for most home runs. He broke the major league record for most home runs by a catcher. There was at 49, and he's at 60 right now. He broke Ken Griffey's club record of 56 with the 60. I got to believe, all this talk's going back and forth, I think Cal Raleigh deserves the American League Most Valuable Player.
I agree 100%. I think he deserves it, and we only vote for the National League because we're in a National League city. I would vote for Cal Raleigh, but Aaron Judge wins it.
Why does Aaron Judge win it?
Eastern bias.
Well,
The Eastern Bloc will vote in mass for Aaron Judge. I hope people come to there for exactly what you were saying. Premium position. You know, he's not just a guy who catches the ball. He's a catch and throw guy. He runs the staff. 60 home runs, switch hitter. He's got it all, and that takes nothing away from Aaron Judge because he is a fabulous player. But this is the year for Cal Raleigh, but I don't think he wins it.
Well, if he can't win it this year, a catcher will never win it. How about that?
Yeah, I don't disagree.
All right, let's get to high school football. And I know there's a lot of teams this week that have buys, especially a lot of the teams, it seems like, in North County before they open up conference play next week. Let's talk about the game you're going to tonight. I mean, should be a heck of a game, but Granite Hills may not be what they were a year ago. I think Cathedral may be better than they were a year ago, even though they got to the Open Division Finals. It'll be a good test for Granite Hills, but I also think it should be a good test for Cathedral Catholic.
Oh, absolutely. And we all thought this was going to be a great game last year. Cathedral going down to Granite Hills, both teams were loaded, ended up being a 52-6 beatdown by Cathedral Catholic. Nobody saw that coming. And I don't think that'll happen tonight. But I do think Cathedral, I agree with you. Cathedral is better. Granite Hills is very good, but I saw them against Mission Hills, and Mission Hills got them in a very competitive game. But Granite Hills can get them, but I think Cathedral wins this one.
All right, another game that's I think one of the bigger games tonight. La Jolla 3-1. Their only loss was the Torrey Pines, and they got beat up pretty good in that first game of the year. I actually was there for that one. But they've got some talented players. I know that, like all teams, they have an injury here and an injury there. But they're going down to take on Point Loma, and Point Loma kind of been a little bit up and down the last few years, but it looks like they're really in an up cycle right now, off to a really nice 4-0 start.
Yes, yeah, and both teams have nice quarterbacks. Hudson Smith is back and healthy for La Jolla, threw for 283 yards last week in a shootout against Grossmont, and Henry Hausler for Point Loma is a nice kind of ball control quarterback. That's going to be a good game. You look at the quality of the opponents. Neither team has played a great schedule. Point Loma played Eastlake last week. Eastlake used to be the power in the South Bay. They're not anymore, and beat them up 49-0. So this was a little hard to pick, but I took Point Loma just because it's a home game.
An interesting matchup tonight, and I want you to speak on this. You got Mount Miguel, who's played really, seems like every week. Mount Miguel has really gone out and they've really challenged their players. They're not afraid to play anybody, it seems like. They're going up to legendary Simcox Field tonight to take on Oceanside. Oceanside 1-3. Mount Miguel number 8 in the poll this week, sitting at 4-1. And you actually picked Oceanside in this game. Explain that.
Well, I have. This is the end of the sit-out period this week. The transfers are eligible, and Oceanside has a nice handful of transfers eligible this week, and I'm taking a shot here. One of the transfers is a young man, Billy Gully. And if the old timers remember linebacker Billy Gully from Oceanside, this is Billy's son, and he is a player, and there are other really good players. I'm taking a shot that the transfers will infuse Oceanside's offense and defense, and both teams. And exactly what you said. Mount Miguel has gone out and they played number 7 San Marcos, number 4 La Costa Canyon, number 10 Poway, but Oceanside has played Granite Hills, Carlsbad, and Mission Hills. So they both challenge themselves. But I'm taking a gamble that a home game for Oceanside and the transfers that they can get Mount Miguel tonight.
John, I want to ask you something about the sit out period, but it's not so much about the sit out period. I've been reading a lot of stuff from up in the southern section. It seems like they're really on all these transfers. I mean, there are a lot of guys that aren't getting to play this year, and there's like some kind of rule that if you're ineligible, you could have to sit out like 2 years. And it's like, I don't know what's going on up there, but there have been a lot of players that are having to sit out this year. They're not getting to play at all. One school, I think, had so many transfers denied, they closed their football program down. Is the rules in the southern section a lot more tougher than they are in the San Diego section?
Well, the rule, it's a state rule, but it's kind of how you interpret the rules, and it's the wild west up in the southern section, especially in the Orange County area. And Bishop Montgomery is the team out of Torrance. That's the team that they had 5 players ruled ineligible for the season, and the administration at Bishop Montgomery dove in a little further and found out there were payments, there were inducements, and they shut the program down. Those 5 players, from what I understand, or at least some of them, have moved out of state so that they can play, and now the other states are looking into those transfers. So I mean, it's nobody. We live in a litigious society. And our good friend Dennis Ackerman, who was CIF commissioner at one time, got caught up in the start of this whole transfer litigious thing, and they were going to court, multiple times. And the CIF does not want to go to court. It's expensive. It's time consuming. So the transfer rules are a lot looser now, which tells you if Bishop Montgomery shut their program down, they must have been doing something really bad.
Something, and I understand, and I know you went to a Catholic high school, okay, and that's great. The private schools, all that's good. Public school, people can argue, what do you get out of this or that? And it's here or there for me. But the thing that I don't understand, and I don't think I'll ever understand it, if you're going to a school because you think you're going to get a scholarship because you're playing at that school, that's not necessarily true. In fact, I know it's not true. And if you're a good player in high school football, you're going to get found. Now, basketball, baseball may be a little bit different now because club sports play such a big role in it. Plus, the recruiting rules where you could go out and I could watch John Maffei play 3 games in one day, and it only counts as one day on my recruiting docket. Where if I went and watched you play a high school baseball game and you boat raced the team 12-0, the game got called off at 5 innings, that counts as much as if I watched you play a triple header on a Saturday afternoon. I'm just a big believer. If you're good enough, colleges nowadays, there's so much out there, they're going to find you.
Oh, absolutely. And, and now this is going back, 55, 60 years when, I went to an all boys Catholic high school, in the southern section in the Pasadena area. And the Catholic high schools recruited the Catholic grammar schools and that's what Cathedral Catholic, St. Augustine, Modern Day Catholic, they're allowed to do that. They're allowed to go out of their area, and as long as they stay in that Catholic grammar school area. So it's not recruiting. They're going to their areas. But some of it's education based. You want your kids to get a good education, and those schools give you a good degree. Same as if you send your kid to Parker or to Bishops or to Country Day. If you have the money and you can afford to send your kid, and you want them to get a good education and get into an Ivy League, more power to you.
All right, let's get back here, get a couple more games. And Mira Mesa, who had a miserable season a year ago, 3-1, heading out to take on Grossmont, who's 3-1. And one thing about Grossmont, I don't know if they can play defense. The last 4 or 5 years out there, they've had a hard time stopping anybody, but they sure put a lot of points on the board.
They do. They love to throw the ball, and they are fun to watch. They're playing a little bit better defense this year. They're only giving up like 22 points a game defensively, and they're 3-1. They're off to a nice start. Mira Mesa is 3-1, and honestly, I don't know what happened last week. They got beat 50-0 by Scripps Ranch. So I haven't gotten any answers on that one. Was it disciplined? Did guys sit out? But that one was a mind blower there. But yes, Grossmont. I think maybe they're playing some defense this year, and that's a home game. So I'm going with Grossmont in that one.
Okay, Ramona 2-3 at Scripps Ranch 3-2. I look at Ramona, rough year last year, trying to bounce back this year. Damon Baldwin's been up there forever. Good guy, athletic director, works his tail off. Coming to the city to take on Scripps Ranch, and you got Scripps Ranch winning this game tonight, 28-17. Tell me about it.
I love both programs. Both coaches are great guys, and if anybody knows Marlon Gardnera at Scripps Ranch, he wasn't a football player in college. He was a baseball player. Played at Oklahoma State, and his last swing as a college player was a home run off of Mark Kotze in the College World Series. So this is a guy who's got some experience, and he's a good coach. And they beat Mira Mesa 50-0 last week. Ramona got beat 52-0 by Mission Hills, and so I'm not sure what to expect there. I think again, it's the old Don Coryell theory. Home field is worth 7, so I'm going with Scripps Ranch.
Okay, the last game I got San Diego 4-0 coming up to take on number 9 Rancho Bernardo 4-0, and Eric Weddle really starting to establish a program there.
Yes, and this is a big game. Much more so probably for San Diego. 4-0. For the first time in since 2017, and again, they haven't played a great schedule, but they've won all their games. And they've only given up. They're 4-0, but they've only played 3. They had a forfeit last week, but they've only given up 12 points in 3 games, so they can play some defense. Rancho Bernardo doesn't really move the ball. In 4 games, they've only scored 104. So this could be a knockdown, drag it out kind of game. I think Rancho Bernardo gets them, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Cabers jumped up and got it.
All righty, John. Well, have a great Friday night. Stay hydrated out there on those sidelines tonight. Be raring to go. And I know next week you got a lot of teams jumping into league play. There are going to be some incredible matchups next Friday night.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the Western League and the Avocado West are loaded, and they're going to be great games every week in those 2 leagues.
That's great. Well, hey, have a great weekend, and as always, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you.
I got a mention thing. I didn't mention it with John right there, but I was looking at the paper this morning, and John is off to like this incredible start. He picks 10 games every week. He was 9-1 again last week. So far in the 5 weeks he's picked games, he's 42-8. How about that? John the Greek Maffei. And he's been unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. We got Coach's Mailbag coming up. I'm going to also mention the Chicago Cubs, give you a little bit of a teaser. And again, Monday, we're going to preview, go a little more in depth on both the Padres and the Cubs. But right now, this is a big game for the Aztecs. Now, we want to get to a bowl game here in San Diego. I don't care if it's the Idaho Potato Bowl. I don't care what bowl it is, as long as it's not the toilet bowl, okay? I want to get to a bowl game this year. And they can get halfway to a bowl game with a win tomorrow in Illinois. They're taking on Northern Illinois, who's not a great team. It's a very winnable game on the road, but you always go into that hostile environment. And a man that's going to give us a preview, he was out there with Coach Lewis on Monday, our man Jonathan Olivieri, talking a little Aztec football. And Jonathan, you were out there with a very, very happy head coach on Monday, weren't you?
Oh yeah. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, they were definitely in high spirits after that shutout win, second shutout of the season. They haven't given up a point at Snapdragon Stadium. So yeah, the spirits were high. Those press conferences are always a little bit more relaxed after a win, and not so tense, and the questions aren't as hard firing from the media. I mean, we still pry here and there to at certain things, but yeah, no, they were happy. But he did also mention that he gave his players, he said, 24 hours to celebrate this win, that night after in the locker room, he said, and then we got to get on to the next opponent and get the ball rolling again.
It was kind of interesting, and you were at the game like I was last Saturday night, and everybody before the game were eating our tacos and talking about the game, and everybody kind of figured, man, Cal's coming in, they're 3-0, they just beat Minnesota. Aztecs coming off a loss, even though it was a bye week in between the loss at Washington State, and everybody's kind of pessimistic. And then at halftime, guys are walking around, getting a bottle of water and going back to their seat like they're banging into one another, going, can you believe what we're watching right now? And then really the second half, the Aztecs flat out turned it on, and they completely outplayed Cal in that football game on both sides of the ball, special teams. I mean, it was a really well-played football game.
Yeah, it was. Like you mentioned in the beginning of the game, you're thinking, okay, like what's you hear the predictions and you're hoping like, man, keep it close maybe. But yeah, the ball, the main thing that I was looking at in that matchup was sort of the clash between Cal had created a turnover in every game they had played in so far. They had their corner had 3 interceptions, and then they also had 2 fumbles. The Aztec offense hadn't given over the ball yet. So I was thinking, okay, something's got to give here. One of these team streaks is going to end. And it wasn't the Aztecs. Their offense stayed efficient. They didn't force it. They didn't try to, fight for extra yard and fumble. And then their defense, who hadn't produced a turnover either, produced 3 and 2 touchdowns in just the third quarter alone. So yeah, they really, I don't know what happened after the Washington Cougar game, if that kind of lit a fire under them, but they came out ready to prove people wrong. The crowd was there. It was really loud. I think it was a little bit before halftime. They were driving and they were maybe at the 20-25 yard line, and the crowd was going wild. It was third down, and they false started 2 plays in a row and then kicked the field goal and missed it. So that was interesting, but it was cool to hear the crowd and see them so into it. Even during that sequence there, I glanced over and Lewis was on the field, like jumping up and down, pumping up the crowd, and they were reacting. So yeah, it was definitely a fun game to watch that Saturday.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the crowd. It was actually nice to see a crowd, number one. And, hopefully with what they saw, they played an outstanding football game. And I'd be the first to say, hey, if they're not doing this or that, point it out. But, I mean, really, the defensive line was fantastic. They kept the offensive line off the linebacker secondary was amazing. Those Cal receivers could get 0 separation against that secondary. And the Aztecs knew coming in this year their secondary was going to be good, and hopefully everybody stays healthy. Offensive line did a good job. Denegal did a nice job protecting the football, and they a couple of big a fumble return for a touchdown, the 97-yard interception return for a touchdown. I mean, it's just a well played game. Now, tell me about what do you got on Northern Illinois? What have you found out this week? Yeah,
so Northern Illinois, their defense is okay, but this will be a good game, I think, for SDSU to sort of fine tune things going into conference play. This is the last non-conference game of the season, so their offense is pretty well balanced, but they don't do their running game and their passing game isn't anything to write home about. So I think the Aztec defense can continue to take advantage of what the offense is going to give them. They're going to be able to hopefully force some more turnovers, pressure the quarterback, my key to the game is going to be shutting down the run, and forcing this quarterback to throw. He's not the best quarterback. He's not one that's going to pick you apart. And after seeing what they did, the secondary and the guys up front against Cal, I think that if they're able to replicate what they did last week, that they could have another shot at a shutout. But I mean, they're just probably happy to go on the road and win a game. They haven't won on the road yet. They've only had one road game so far. So that's kind of what I see from Northern Illinois' offense. Defensively, their secondary is their strong suit, and then they do a good job of applying pressure up front. So I think Denigal, he's progressed well so far this season, and he hasn't forced the ball and made any turnovers. So I think you run the ball with your running backs led by Sutton, and then you just see what that sets up and take advantage of what the defense gives you.
All right, before I get you out of here, I know this weekend and next week we'll be talking on a Friday, talking about the game.
Yeah.
And you and I are going to get off the air and have a little lunch and head to Snapdragon Stadium because they play next Friday night in their conference opener against Colorado State. But this weekend, tomorrow, you've got a big day. You got another big card show coming up.
Yeah, we do. So another SD Collectibles card show. This one, a lot of ours I think that I've talked about in the show have been at Liberty Station and Handlery Hotel in Mission Valley, but this one's at our other location at St. Dunstan's. It's a church right next to Patrick Henry High School. So if you're familiar with that area where Patrick Henry High School is, it's kind of technically the backside of it. You're above those baseball fields and some classroom buildings down there. But yeah, it'll be a great time. It's an afternoon one, so it's 4 to 8. So, sleep in, relax, enjoy your Saturday morning, and then come over to the SD Collectibles show. I'll be set up there, and there's always a little bit of everything for everyone. There's Pokemon, there's Yu-Gi-Oh, there's sports cards, football, baseball, basketball. So if you're new to collecting or never collected before, or if you're somebody who's been collecting for years, you'll enjoy it. There will be something for you, and it's just fun to be around and talk to different collectors and things like that. I know eBay and the internet now kind of is a really easy way. Everyone's used to just being able to get things one click away, but it's cool to come in and trade and just talk to other collectors and add an item to your collection.
Well, I will say this, and we're going to get to another one. Just family's so busy on weekends with all the softball and baseball and soccer and beach volleyball, busy. But the one that we went to here about, 7-8 weeks ago, down at the Handlery with my son-in-law, my 7-year-old grandson, and he's bugging to get back there, by the way. It was amazing. I mean, I've been to card shows over the years. I've been to the National Card Show up in Anaheim. Yeah. What you and your dad and his friend that put together, what you guys have done here is absolutely amazing. I got to tell you that for a guy that has over 52,000 baseball cards and been collecting since the bubble gum was just flat out awful back in the 60s. Okay, that's why I probably had so many cavities as a kid. But you guys put on an incredible event, and anybody that was thinking about maybe starting a collection or has a collection looking for that very, very special card or memorabilia. It's more than just a card show. There's a lot of memorabilia, photos, framed photos, autographs, really pretty amazing. And even if you go in there and don't buy a thing, you're going to be overwhelmed by what you actually see. So hopefully you have great attendance at Dunstan Church. And I know you've got several coming up the remainder of the year. And great job as always, Jonathan.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. Okay, we got a couple of minutes here. I do want to get to Coach's mailbag, but if we have any other questions on Coach's crew, I know we got to about 3 and we wanted to get to John Maffei. If we have any other, we can throw those up here real quick. I also want to mention the Cubs a little bit. Cubs right now are 89 and 70. 3 games this weekend at home against the Cardinals. And the pitching, and I don't know exactly what order. They haven't thrown out what order yet. But they got a left-hander, Matthew Boyd, who's 14 and 8 and a 3.21. Good veteran pitcher. The young guy, right-hander, Cade Horton, 11 and 4, 2.67. I think that's probably who they're going to go with in game 1. And then left-hander Shota Imanaga, 12 and 9 and a 3.73. His ERA got bumped up a little bit last night. He had a rough night at the friendly confines against the New York Mets. Mets took 2 out of 3 from Chicago, and they're back right now in the third spot. But again, they got to keep winning. Diamondbacks are 2 games back. They're going to have to win every game. They're going to hope Cincinnati and the Mets drop some games. But, it's going to be a great weekend of baseball. Nico Horner trying to win a batting title. Trey Turner's been on the IL. I don't know if they're going to activate him this weekend, but he's been on the IL, hitting 305. Nico Horner right there, hitting 299, trying to win a National League batting title. They got Pete Crow Armstrong, who's had a good year, but not a great second half, 244, 29 homers, 97 RBIs. Seiya Suzuki hitting 244, 29 homers, 97 RBIs. They got a lot of guys that have hit home runs. In fact, they've got 214 home runs this year. They're going to activate today Kyle Tucker, one of the best players in baseball when he's healthy. He had a fractured hand earlier in the year, coming back from a left calf strain. They're going to activate him, get him some work, maybe as the DH this weekend. He's going to be a free agent, going to sign for a ton of money. But he's an outstanding player. You remember him with the Houston Astros. And we'll talk more about the Cubs on Monday. Let's get to Coach's mailbag right now. And boy, have we given you enough today? We talked to Brad Cesmat, talked about the Diamondbacks coming to town. John Maffei, you're all ready for high school football. You're ready for the Aztec game. Let's get to our Coach's mailbag, see what we got today. Joey, Padres won't go anywhere if Darvish and Cease can't find their command. Got to throw strikes, but stay away from the middle of the plate. Absolutely, 100%. I really don't know what Darvish's role is going to be. For me, I got to go with Cease in Game 3. He's got more swing and miss. Yeah, he's a wild card. He can get a little wild and overthrow a little bit, but he got a lot better stuff than Darvish has right now. Darvish is more of a finesse guy. Cubs are pretty patient at the plate. They're not going to swing a lot of balls out of the zone. I think I got to go with Dylan Cease if they go to a Game 3. And hopefully the Padres win the series the first 2 games. I would think Pivetta definitely going in Game 1. I would think Michael King, even though he's not pitching until tomorrow, I would think he would go in Game 2. And then I would go with Cease. I mean, maybe if you kind of look at that, go with Pivetta, you're giving him a little extra rest. You got Darvish tonight. You're not going to throw Darvish in Game 2, are you? I wouldn't. I think that'd be a big mistake. And I'm talking about right now. I'm telling you right now, they cannot pitch Darvish in Game 2. Now, if they went to Game 3, I'd still go with Cease. Darvish doesn't start for me in any if it goes 3 games. He's not a starter. He's coming out of the bullpen. That's me. All right, Joey, thank you very much. See what else we got here. What do you think of the celebration the Padres had for locking up the wild card? Seemed like a lot after a season. They could have won the division. You and I probably think that. I've been in there when they've clinched. I think it was, 2006? I just remember the catcher. I can't think of his name right now. He was an outfielder, played for Detroit. I can't think of his name. He was running around like a maniac that night. Robert Fick, that's who it was. Robert Fick, he was running around like a maniac. Guys had goggles. I had no goggles on. I was in there interviewing guys. It was a lot of fun. I guess if you grinded for 7 months, you can have a celebration like that. But it seemed like the Padres was a lot wilder than what I saw from the Dodgers yesterday. Dodgers were having fun, but they seemed to be not running around like maniacs. Hey, but you know what? To each his own. I mean, if you win and get into the play, that's a big deal. However you celebrate, it's kind of up to you. I'm not going to criticize it too much, but I was thinking about how I would react if I know how I reacted when I was a college coach. We won a conference title. It was great, but we weren't shooting champagne and smoking cigars. I'm just more laid back and more easygoing, like I've been there and done that before. But hey, everybody to each his own. If you won the World Series, man, I'd probably run around, running up and down the street, going crazy. But hey, to each his own on that one. What else we got here? We got another one? Oh, okay. What team would be the Padres' kryptonite in the postseason? I think Philadelphia is awful tough. That Philadelphia team, they got 3 good left-handed starting pitchers: Christopher Sanchez, Ranger Suarez. those two guys are awful good. Those two in particular. Jesus Luzardo, when he's on, he's tough. He hasn't had the year that Sanchez and Suarez has had, but he still had a damn good year. And they don't have Zach Wheeler. And getting Duran, that right-handed reliever from Minnesota, man, that guy's tough. Throw 101, 102 miles an hour to that bullpen. Got some good stuff. So Philadelphia, the Padres aren't going to be scared of the Dodgers. They just can't pee down their leg when they play them. They get so excited to play the Dodgers, and they want to win so bad. They play bad baseball a lot of the time. And Dodgers are in their head a little bit, I think. But Philadelphia, just a really, really good baseball team. But thank you very much for that. We got any more? What's your favorite Padres playoff moment? Well, I think you got to go back to Garvey's home run in '84 against the Cubs off of Lee Smith on a Saturday night to drive it to a Game 5, and then the Padres winning it the next day. We always talk about winning it, Nettles to Wiggins, and the Padres win, and they're on their way to the World Series. Jerry Coleman going crazy, but Garvey hitting that ball off of Lee Smith and Henry Cotto, the right fielder, going up and leaping, and that ball's out of the ballpark, and the Padres win. That's probably my favorite moment. We got to the World Series. We haven't had a lot of favorite moments. I guess Tony hitting that home run at Yankee Stadium, I think that was big because I know how much that home run meant to him. But that would be my big playoff moment. And Cronenworth hit a couple of years ago against the Dodgers. But that game, that only got us to the NLCS. Garvey's home run led us into another game to where we finally got to the World Series. So that'd probably be the one I have. All right, that going to do it today? All right. Again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the show. Tried to bring you a lot of good content today. We'll do it again Monday morning at 9 a.m. Remember, follow us on YouTube. You can follow me on Facebook and X. Just Facebook, John Kentera. On X, Coach Kentera 44. And again, if you'd like, please subscribe. Please like. Please turn on your notifications. And if you'd like to be a Gold Glove member for $2.99 a month, you can support the channel. Just go to our YouTube page, click where it says join, and the rest will take care of itself. So thank you very much for tuning in. Hope everyone has a great weekend, and we'll watch a little baseball this weekend, a little football, and look forward to talking with you about it all on Monday morning. Until then, Coach John Kentera, be safe, have fun. Talk to you Monday. Bye-bye.